I stared at my brother's message, every word slicing into me like a blade drawn fresh across old skin. Don't come to Dad's 60th. You'll shame us all. If I see you near the venue, I'll have security remove you. Classic James, forever the polished heir, ever vigilant in safeguarding the Morgan family legacy. Tonight's gala at the Miramar Heights Club was the toast of San Diego, venture capitalists, municipal brass, and corporate titans converging to pay tribute to Michael Morgan, the architect of Morgan Innovations. Heaven forbid they uncover that the daughter he cast aside wasn't the disgrace he had so eagerly painted her to be. Another notification buzzed, this time from my stepmother, Jennifer. James is right. This evening is pivotal for your father's alliances. Please don't cause a scene. A scene. That's what they had called it when I turned down the gilded executive path laid before me 7 years ago. I had no desire for the curated rise at Morgan Innovations, no interest in a leadership title handed out like a promotional token. I craved authenticity. So I walked away, and no one ever asked where I'd gone. Across my workspace, sunlight glanced off a plaque. Innovator of the Year, Disruptive Visionaries Under 35 by Future Edge. Framed beside it, a headline from TechSignal Weekly, Mary Lynn and the Future of Clean Energy Storage. They never knew Mary Lynn was me. I'd taken my mother's surname after graduation, and while they dismissed it as adolescent defiance, I had been deep in R&D, designing the quantum capacitor batteries that would revolutionize the energy sector. The very tech Morgan Innovations was now scrambling to license in a last-ditch attempt to remain relevant. My phone lit up. William F.I.M., COO of my company, Helix Systems. All systems go. Host Ventures announces the deal at 8 sharp. Are you sure tonight's the night you want to make your entrance? My eyes fell on the invitation still resting on my desk, its embossed script and grandiose styling as theatrical as ever. A tribute to Michael Morgan, visionary, founder, father. Yes, I said aloud, my voice unwavering. It's time. William gave a knowing chuckle. Oh, and Jessica, host, said she personally extended the invite. Apparently, your father's been trying to score a meeting with the Helix CEO for months. His tone softened. Guess he had no idea he was chasing his own daughter. Of course he hadn't. The global energy shift had left his empire floundering. He needed my innovation to survive. I stepped into a sleek, midnight-hued dress, sophisticated, without any flashy branding. Around my neck, I fastened a slender silver moon pendant, my mother's. The one heirloom I'd held onto through every reinvention. Tonight, the whole city would bear witness as the elusive executive Michael Morgan had spent months courting took the spotlight. And I wouldn't need to utter a single word. She gave it to me before she passed, back when I was still the daughter my father paraded before colleagues and at holiday galas. Trust your instincts, Mary, Mom whispered, tucking the pendant into my palm, even if they carry you miles from where others insist you belong. The Miramar Heights Club shimmered ahead as my car eased up to the valet. Inside, the celebration was already roaring, chandeliers scattering light over San Diego's elite, the room buzzing with laughter and crystal chimes. A grand banner arched over the entrance. Happy 60th, Michael Morgan. At the check-in stood Rachel, James's ever-composed wife, clipboard in hand, eyes scanning arrivals with practiced efficiency. Her expression turned to stone the moment she saw me step out. Mary, she said, voice cracking. You can't just, James made it clear. Good evening, Mrs. Morgan, I said smoothly. I believe you'll find I'm on the guest list. Host's office phoned ahead. You'll want to check your device. Her fingers danced over her tablet. Wait, yes, you're listed. Mr. Host said he insisted. But how did you? I was already past her. Same marble floors, same curated laughter, same charged undercurrent of ambition. The world I'd left behind had stayed exactly the same. Jennifer was near the bar, animatedly showcasing a new diamond cuff. My half-sister, Patricia, clung to a young hedge fund manager, starry-eyed and whispering. James noticed me next, His expression collapsed into a scowl as he advanced with clipped steps. What part of stay away didn't register? Lovely to see you too, James, I said calmly. It's a lovely affair. Security's coming, he muttered. 60 seconds. Then you're gone. I glanced at my watch. Actually, I believe Mr. Host is due in 30 seconds. He requested I be here for the announcement. A flicker of confusion crossed his features. Host? What could Jessica Host want with you? Right on cue, the energy in the room shifted. Conversations faltered. Heads turned. A hush fell like velvet. Jessica Host had arrived. At 62, she didn't need volume or spectacle. Her presence alone recalibrated the room. Her firm, Host Ventures, was legend. Tonight, everyone knew she was about to reveal a game-changing alliance. My father nearly sprinted to intercept her, arm extended like a man grasping for relevance. Jessica, delighted you could come. Let's step inside. But her gaze swept the room and then fixed on me. There she is, she said. A charged silence swept through the hall. Jessica glided past my father without so much as a glance, her steps unerring. Or should I say Ms. Morgan, she said, reaching out with a warm smile. It's an honor to finally meet in person. You could have heard a champagne bubble burst. Jennifer's hand faltered on her glass. Patricia blinked, bewildered. James looked as if he'd swallowed shards of ice. And my father? He went ashen, the color draining from his face like ink in water. James's lips parted, but no sound emerged. His earlier threats to summon security had dissolved into air. I don't understand, my father finally managed, his voice brittle with disbelief. He turned toward Jessica Host as though reality itself had cracked. You know Mary? Jessica's smile deepened, eyes twinkling with dry amusement. Know her, Michael? Your daughter is one of the most formidable minds shaping the future of sustainable energy, she said, pausing to let the statement sink in. Her gaze swept the stunned faces around the room. Though, judging by the reactions here tonight, I take it no one realized that Mary Lynn and Mary Morgan are, in fact, one and the same. The stunned silence shattered, literally, when Jennifer dropped her crystal flute. It burst across the marble like a firecracker. Still, no one moved. That's not possible, James stammered, stepping forward, voice cracking. She vanished after she left the company. She hasn't done anything. I've been building helix systems, I said, voice smooth as glass as I stepped forward. That nothing now commands a $4.2 billion valuation. My father's hand tightened on the back of a nearby chair, knuckles white. Helix, the firm behind the next-gen battery architecture everyone's chasing? That's right, I said, locking eyes with him. The very CEO you've been courting, the innovation you hoped might salvage Morgan Innovations. Jessica cleared her throat delicately. On that note, shall we move on to the formal announcement? Wait, my father raised a hand, almost pleading. What announcement? I stepped fully into the center of the room, letting the moment crystallize. Host Ventures is forming a strategic alliance with Helix Systems, I said, voice carrying through the ballroom. Together, we're acquiring majority ownership of Morgan Innovations. The room erupted into a low, incredulous murmur, shocked whispers, wide eyes, champagne forgotten. James turned crimson. You can't do this. This is our legacy. Actually, Jessica interjected, her tone serene. We can, and we are. She addressed the room. Helix's energy solutions are years ahead of current tech. Every major automaker is vying for a piece. But Ms. Morgan insisted her family's company be offered first refusal. A gesture of respect, not necessity. Jennifer pushed forward, eyes blazing. Michael, don't let her hijack everything we've built. She'll dismantle it. I laughed, softly. Everything you built? I echoed. You mean the enterprise hemorrhaging relevance, still clinging to fossil fuels while the world pivots electric? The same company teetering on the edge of insolvency. My father's mask of composure cracked, years of unsaid words flashing across his features. Mary, please. Let's talk. We can fix this. I stepped closer, my voice quiet but unwavering. Now you want to talk? I said. 7 years ago, I told you where the future was headed. You told me to stop pretending to be an engineer and get serious. When I showed you my prototypes, James called them clever doodles. And when I walked away to build Helix, Jennifer said I was abandoning my duty. I drew myself up. Well, I didn't abandon anything. I built something real. And I'm here to rescue the company that dismissed me. Jessica stood in silence, bearing witness to a family unraveling, threads of pride, silence, and buried wounds all coming undone in real time. The window for conversation closed years ago, I said evenly, eyes fixed on my father. Now, it's about survival. I let the quiet stretch like a held breath. You need Helix's innovation. I'm offering it. The only question is, can you accept that the daughter you cast off is now your only lifeline? Patricia, silent until now, spoke hesitantly from behind Jennifer. But all those times we asked you to dinner, to family gatherings, you always said you were tied up. I replied, building a future, building a company. But no one ever asked what I was building. You all assumed I had nothing. Jessica stepped forward and placed a leather-bound folder on the table beside her. The documents are ready, Michael, she said quietly. Helix Systems will assume a 60% controlling interest in Morgan Innovations. I followed, firm and composed. I'll take over as CEO immediately. Production on our electric platform launches in 6 months. My father looked stunned, untethered. And if I say no, he asked. Then host, and I will license the tech to your competition, I said without hesitation. And they'll seize the opportunity. James clutched his arm. Dad, don't. Enough, James. The sharpness in Michael Morgan's voice cleaved the room like a blade. All movement ceased. Then, slowly, he turned to look at me, truly look, for the first time in years. This technology, it's really yours? He asked, softer now. I nodded and pulled out my phone. With a few taps, I brought up Helix's proprietary archive, dozens of patent filings, engineering schematics, advanced cooling systems. Every detail, every breakthrough, every step of the journey he'd never cared to ask about. While you pitted me for leaving, I said quietly I was rebuilding the future from scratch. He took the device with trembling fingers, eyes scanning the display, disbelief giving way to wonder, then something heavier, the sting of recognition. Tears gathered. Save it, I said gently. We'll talk about the past later. For now, tell me, are you ready to listen to the daughter you deemed a disgrace? Jessica stepped forward again, a pen extended in her hand. Silence fell like velvet. Even the musicians had stilled. With shaking hands, my father signed. Behind him, Jennifer's sharp intake of breath was audible. James's fists curled tight before he spun on his heel, dragging a stunned Elizabeth with him through the crowd. Patricia simply stared, like she was truly seeing me for the first time. Ladies and gentlemen, Jessica host's voice rose above the murmurs, calm and resolute. Please welcome the new CEO of Morgan, Helix Industries, Ms. Mary Morgan. The applause started slow, tentative. But it came. Beside me, my father stood still as marble. Across the room, Jennifer's poised facade began to crumble. I didn't glance her way. Instead, my hand moved to the slender silver crescent at my collarbone, my mother's pendant. She had told me to follow my heart. And I had. Every decision, every sleepless night, every rejection and risk, it had led me here. Not as the compliant daughter they once sculpted in their dreams, but as the woman they never imagined I could become. Later that night, as the celebration dimmed into soft strings and murmuring conversation, I found myself alone on the terrace, watching the California hills dissolve into darkness. My father found me there, footsteps slow, unsure. That night you laughed, he said quietly from behind me. You tried to show me your ideas. I didn't even turn. No, I replied. You didn't. Silence stretched between us, vast and fragile. I was wrong about everything, he said finally. I turned then, and for the first time, I didn't see the figurehead of Morgan Innovations. I saw the man, stripped of his armor, confronting the mirror of his failures. "Can you forgive me?" he asked. I looked down, my fingers brushing the crescent moon, the symbol of every choice that had pulled me forward, away from him, and toward myself. "That depends," I said softly. "Are you willing to learn from your daughter?" He met my eyes and gave a slow, solemn nod. "Teach me." Sometimes, the sweetest revenge isn't proving others wrong. It's proving yourself right. And if you're very lucky, it comes with a chance to rebuild on your own terms. The next morning, I stepped through the glass facade of what once was Morgan Innovations. Above the main entrance, the new emblem gleamed: Morgan, Helix Industries. As I walked the familiar corridor, I passed the old motto etched in chrome along the wall, fueling the future. By next week, it would be replaced with something more honest. Innovation is in our blood. James's nameplate had already been removed. Jennifer's curated gallery of soulless modern art gone. The building felt lighter, as though it had taken its first real breath in years. In my new office, formerly my father's, sunlight poured across the desk. Waiting there was a modest, ribbon-wrapped parcel. Inside, nestled in worn linen pages, was my mother's old engineering textbook. A small sticky note marked a page near the back, her handwriting unchanged by time. "For Mary, who will change the world her own way." And I had. Not because anyone gave me permission. Not because anyone cleared the path. But because I built it myself, with vision, resilience, and the fierce clarity of a woman who refused to stay small. Not in the way they had hoped, but in the way the world needed. If you've come this far in my story, thank you. Thank you for holding space for the parts one once buried too deep to say aloud. I was dismissed, laughed out of boardrooms, brushed aside at family tables. But I didn't let that define me. I kept building, learning, creating, even when no one believed in what I could become. If you've ever been silenced by those who should have been your biggest supporters, I hope my story shows you. You don't need their approval to evolve. You only need your fire, your faith, and the courage to take one small step at a time. Now I want to hear from you. How did this story make you feel? Have you ever stood in a room where no one saw your worth until it was too late? Leave me a comment. I'll read every single one. Your voice matters. Your vision matters. And if you've been walking your road alone too, maybe you're not as alone as you think. Here's my advice. Don't wait for permission. Create anyway. Grow anyway. The applause might come years later, or not at all. But the impact you make? That's eternal. Support the dreamers, the quiet strivers, the underestimated. And if you see someone like me in your orbit, working in silence, overlooked, look again. They just might be reshaping the future beneath your nose. Because sometimes, the person the world overlooks most is the one rewriting its rules. To those still doubting themselves, keep going. You are not too late. You are not too much. And you are absolutely not invisible. You're only just beginning. Mary Morgan.